The left has anti-science views on vaccines. The anti-vaccine movement started on the left with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Bill Maher. Even President Obama said that vaccines might cause autism.
I'm Katherine Mangu-Ward for Reason TV, and I'm here today with Alex Berezow, co-author of Science Left Behind. Thanks for talking with us, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
Who is leaving science behind and why?
Well, really both sides of the political spectrum, Republicans and Democrats, have left science behind. We look at conservative ideology and their opposition to global warming and to climate change and to evolution, and we see that they have left science behind. But our book's focus is on the left. Now, the reason we focus on the left is because you can buy several books already in the market which slam conservatives for being anti-science. If you turn on MSNBC, they have a segment called The Republican War on Science. So we said, hey, the Democrats, they're not always good at science either. And so we thought we need to write a book that tells the rest of the story.
Do you think that it's worse now? Has science become more politicized? Is there sort of a greater bending of scientific truths for political utility?
Yes, and it is on everything from vaccines to nuclear power to genetic modification to science education reform. It is literally touching all the major hot-button science issues that have seemed to become very politically hot-button issues.
So is it even coherent to say that conservatives or progressives are anti-science? I mean, what do people mean when they say that?
So that term came around during the Bush administration, and they started saying that George Bush was anti-science, and that kind of stuck, and it was stuck and applied to the entire Republican Party, and to beyond that, to conservatives in general. And while they do hold anti-science beliefs in regard to climate change and evolution, it is also equally true that the left has anti-science views on vaccines. The anti-vaccine movement started on the left with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Bill Maher. Even President Obama said that vaccines might cause autism. The anti-nuclear movement is almost exclusively on the far left. Anti-fracking, anti-natural gas, that's on the far left. So these views are on the left, and they are just as anti-science as the people they claim on the right who are anti-science.
What do you think is one of the most sort of egregious instances out there right now of people on the left calling people on the right anti-science when they mean something else?
I think that when you call someone anti-science for having maybe reservations about some types of embryonic stem cell research, and which I'm in favor of embryonic stem cell research, but there are things such as, should we be creating embryos not for reproductive purposes but specifically for research? Or should we be injecting human embryonic stem cells into non-human primates to see what happens? I think if you start to have ethical challenges with some of those ideas, I don't think that's fair to say someone's anti-science, because you can get a PhD in bioethics now. I mean, bioethicists exist for a reason. And so I think having ethical issues with science doesn't necessarily make one anti-science.
When you talk about the kind of results of this anti-science rhetoric, of the rise of this you're anti-science, no, you're anti-science rhetoric, what are some of the policy implications? What's the problem with this, other than that it's sort of rhetorically ugly?
When you accuse everyone of being anti-science, it has a dampering effect on good public policy discourse. Because when you want to have good public policy, good science policy, it involves more than just science. Sometimes, for instance, scientists would say we should dump as much money as possible into fusion research because fusion really could be the power source of the future. However, when you are $16 trillion in debt, maybe spending $1 trillion on fusion research is not a good idea. And I wouldn't say that makes someone anti-science. I would say that makes someone reasonable. We don't have an unlimited supply of money. So when you call everyone you disagree with anti-science, that has a dampering effect because there are other considerations in policy, legal aspects, economic aspects, financial aspects. I think that when you have authors who write books about Republican wars on science, that's not particularly healthy for dialogue. Now, I know what people are going to say. Well, hey, didn't you just write a book about this? And yes and no. Like, we wanted to address the anti-science beliefs of the political left, but we don't think it's a Democratic problem. We don't say this is the Democratic Party's fault or this is the Republican Party's fault. We say this is the progressive way of thinking. The progressive way of thinking doesn't encapsulate the entire Democratic Party. It's just one wing of the Democratic Party. And they embrace certain myths like the idea that natural food is better or natural things are better and unnatural things are bad for you. I know Ron Bailey can go on about this at length. And so we try to take the politics, the partisanship out of it. Yes, it's a political book, but we try to take the partisanship out of it and kind of say, a pox on both their houses, let's just look at the science and take the politics out of it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Berezow, co-author of Science Left Behind and editor of Real Clear Science. For Reason TV, I'm Katherine Mangu-Ward.